welcome once again to Unity Spiritual Center, and a shout out to our online community. So good to have you with us here today. What a joyful energy we have going on this morning. The daily word for real was joy too. Can you imagine? I make a point of picking the daily word to go with my talk, and then there it was. Spirit pulled a trick on me. I hadn't planned for that. But it was a joyful experience nonetheless to have multiple daily words on the topic of joy. Who would have thought? So today we conclude our walk that we have been taking, a 4-week journey into the process I have called a New Thought Advent. It is our celebration and search for the importance of these 4 elements: faith, peace, love, and joy. The Fillmores, co-founders of Unity, absolutely, historically viewed Advent. You guys were sleeping there. Only one said that. I'll start again. The Fillmores, got it that time. Well done, team. We historically viewed our season of Advent as the inner search in mind and heart, as the internal preparation for the coming of the Christ, very similar to our traditional Christian cousins, a time of preparation for the awakening, for the birth of the Christ child. We, though, now know that the Christ is with us always. Charles Fillmore spoke about an Advent theme in January of 1923 at a radio broadcast. So you can see the pattern here that whenever we talk about Advent in Unity, we never follow the traditional dates that Christianity has assigned to them, just so that you're not confused. It's like not our thing. Because every one of my talks have been a week ahead of what our traditional cousins have been presenting. And here, Charles, oh, you stumped me. Charles does his radio broadcast in January, well after Advent is long gone from our minds. However, he shared his thoughts and understanding with his radio audience that the Christ is an idea in divine mind, and that the divine essence dwells within each and every human being. We know that to be unity principle number 2. He assured his listeners that the kingdom of God is within, and that the more that we search for that kingdom of God and comply with the law, being the universal laws of truth, when we comply with the law, the more we will know about what is called the second coming of Christ. Now, Fillmore said, I'm just trying to see if it always triggers you. He said that the second coming of Christ is right now. So once again, the teaching returns to our individualized awareness of the now moment. Who here is present in the now moment? Every one of your hands should be up. I stumped you. So it's time to wake up. So are you awake to the truth of who you are in this now moment? Oh, yes. Can you honestly say that you know the experience of the infinite and the intimate and the inner God? Oh, good. This side of the room is doing much better in the questioning. You guys got to wake up over here. Is that what sitting next to the window does for you? More light comes in. Oh, I know. You guys over here are preparing to awaken. That's it. So, through your use of spiritual principle and disciplines, such as prayer and affirmation, you have the opportunity to awaken to the now moment. Are you ready? Yes. You missed it. Do it again. Challenge yourself to create a discipline about being awake in each and every now moment through prayer, through meditation, through attention, through mindfulness. Or, you know how I love my ors, you could choose to ignore your inner divinity entirely. Do you know anyone like that? Are you sitting in the room? Just checking. Because what that does is it gives your ego permission to run your life. Who here has done that? Yeah, probably every hand in the room should be up. And so, if that is your momentary state, I encourage you to challenge yourself, to know that you are more than what you ever believe in a limited error thinking sight. Challenge yourself. Charles Fillmore, relating about his prayer discipline to the themes of Advent, added that the joy of his life was his inner communion in the silence. He called it perfect ecstasy. We're not talking about drugs here. We're talking about meditation as perfect ecstasy. He focused on his inner world and said it was the most enticing thing in the world. Sorry, Myrtle, you got bumped over by prayer and meditation. He said that this inner frontier, in that energy and consciousness, he found a clearer understanding of what Advent was through contemplation and being in the silence. He came to a greater understanding of faith, peace, love, and joy. The dictionary shares that joy is a feeling of emotion or great pleasure and happiness, the expression of delight, glad feelings, and happiness. I was not enthused by this, can you tell? None of these words speak to the deeper essence of joy that lives within. Teilhard de Desjardins, the philosopher and Jesuit priest, said that joy is the infallible presence of God. Joy emanating from a person is the infallible presence of God. So spiritually speaking, joy comes from that untouchable source within you. No matter what happens in your life, nothing and no one can touch your inner essence of the divine from which your joy can come. No matter what happens, that is yours and yours alone. So when we experience that joy from the inner fire of the soul, which we know is also called zeal, which is one of our 12 attributes, we're born with it, can't hide it, can't run from it, it's there already. when we live from that fire, people notice. They see what happens as we light up. They see it in your eyes. They hear it in your voice. They see it in your face. They recognize it in your expression. When the divine is awake in you, everybody knows. They can see it. They can feel it. And it lights the spark in them. Unity principle number 2. Divine spark. You are so much more than a spark. But I do like that word. It's fun. So have you ever been in a group of people and all of a sudden the doors fly open and the vibrance of a person walks into the room and it's like the energy shifts? We use the phrase, they light up the room. I'm not talking about movie star, glamour, Marilyn Monroe, and whomever else. No. I am talking about the inner Christ light. I am talking about the Buddha nature that exists within each and every one of us. That is the joy, the presence of God that Teilhard was talking about. You see it, you feel it, you experience it. Their inner divinity being expressed in the room awakens yours. And then all of a sudden you feel all alive. Because that inner bit of you cannot hide. It's like the little weed that grows up in the crack in the sidewalk. You can't stop it. Because once there is a fellow awakened spirit in the room, you are triggered, and in an so positive way. It's awesome. That's the way we like to be triggered, right? The other way we're not so crazy about. When that happens, someone is giving us permission to let your light shine. I think I sort of do that a lot to you all. So, in my experience in working with people for a number of years, I have observed that there are some who like to put their light under a bushel basket and to hide themselves. And what I've learned in support of these people is that 3 things are going on. They don't love themselves. They don't believe in themselves, that they have any worth or value. They don't want to make others feel bad because their light might be brighter than someone else in the room. Or, they're just not used to their brightness yet, and they just want to fit in. And if they shine so brightly, they'll stick out, because yes, indeed, you do. In a good, positive, loving way. We are not here to fit into a mold. We are here to shine our light. Okay? Shine your light. Each and every one of you has one in there. If that's not working brightly, go to the next level. So for me personally, at this stage in my life, it has absolutely been living and learning and practicing these spiritual principles that has awakened joyfulness in me. I was always mostly a happy kid when I was left to my own devices. But these principles are what has helped me be awake. I was one of those kids that knew that the surface level of life was not all that there was, and that there was so much more to be found and expressed and experienced. I was looking for the better way of living. I had no idea what that was, but I knew if I looked for it, I would find it. And so over time, I came to understand what my friend Charles was talking about in the experience of the silence. I crave silence. And I came to understand the joy in the experience of the infinite, the intimate, and the inner God. It is a relationship with your higher power, with your true self. So I can turn in prayer and meditation, and you can turn in prayer and meditation and reconnect with that higher self. Train yourself to all you need do is take a conscious, cleansing breath to re-center when life is experiencing all around you. Because we each need to reconnect multiple times during the day to know that God is all there is, regardless of the outer experience, circumstances, and perception of what could be chaos. So most folks know that I'm a pretty joyful character. In my years of working with teenagers, they gave all the head sponsors the little 7 dwarf dolls. I got happy. Yeah, I still have him. And one time I went to Starbucks, and the person only witnessed my presence for a couple of minutes, and they didn't put Joanne. They put Joy Ann on my coffee cup. Yeah. Because that Christ light oozes out and brightens the room. Can't help it. However, like many of you, I have had times in my life that were dark. I've had times of fear and despair and mental and emotional and physical struggle. And I've experienced lots of cool stuff like job loss and divorce and death of people I loved and my father choosing to complete suicide. And during those experiences, I did everything in my power to allow and embrace the human emotion of it. And as those clouds of emotion started to lift away, then I knew it was time to consciously activate and live from my transformative tools, the tools that we teach at this center, the tools that are available through classes and workshops and prayer and meditation and music and song and community. I began calling out my attribute of faith. And when I consciously called out on my activity of faith within into a greater action in my life, something happened. My faith led me to peace. And when I started calling on and moving into a bigger sense of peace in my mind and body and activities of my life, something happened. It awakened me to love. And by consciously affirming the activity of love in my life, my mind and my body, my experiences, I remembered that I am love. I am loving, and I am lovable, no matter what is hitting the fan on the outer. And something happened. That love reignited and reawakened within me the joy of just being alive. And I felt awake. I felt alive. I had moved beyond the experience that put me into the darkness through using faith, which awakened peace, which awakened love, which reawakened joy. That's why I firmly believe that these particular topics were chosen back in the 4th century by the Christian fathers as the preparation for the awakening of the Christ. The story is about an infant child. But in unity and new thought, we know the awakened Christ is in us and with us in every moment of every day and every year that we live. And so I invite you to use the transformative tools and to use the tools of faith and peace and love and joy to awaken within you the Christ and live it every day. That's why we're here. Enjoy the journey. Namaste.